Welcome back to Horns High Studios for another episode of Throwing the Horns, brought to you by Horns High Productions. Episode 2 going down here tonight. Thanks for all the great feedback from the first episode last week. We definitely appreciate that. And we're going to read a couple of comments from metalheads who watched that episode at the end of this episode. So thanks to all of you. Now, we've got some great releases last week that we covered. Some Ingested, Suicidal Angels, Spider Kickers, and more. I mean, it was a great episode. We talked about some news regarding the legendary Mora Sound Studios in Florida. Shane, that was a great conversation. I really, really dug that you covered that, man.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see something like that getting recognized. You know, it's super cool. And, some of the most iconic bands recorded albums there. I mean, it's unbelievable. So it was a great one. So if you didn't check that episode out, go back and listen to or watch the first one. Now, I'm one of the hosts of the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast, and Shane is one of our guest co-hosts that comes on to get into some true crime, some heavy metal. So if you like those things, then go check that out. We do true crime videos on the Murder Metal Mayhem channel, and the podcast does cases that are solved. So, but Shane, it's been another wild week of some great metal releases, man. Like, holy crap, it just doesn't stop. But when you're listening to something new, I mean, how is your preferred way of doing this? And I'm just kind of wondering, maybe, being a Canadian, some rundown trailer, maybe drinking some rye whiskey and maybe eating a cheeseburger, a little Trailer Park Boy style,
Well, you know what, Pete? Ricky said I can crank the helix as loud as I want, so it's all good, man.
Give me an R, man.
Sometimes I wear the cans. I like to block out any outside distractions and EQ things up, but I do have a little bit of a commute to work. I got about 45 minutes each way, so that's about the same length as any good album. So, that's when I listen to most of my music. And I got this thing called the car test. I'm sure everybody has this. And, if an album sounds good in the car, then it passes the test. And if it doesn't sound good in the car, then, it probably doesn't sound good anywhere.
Yeah, that's true, man. I usually check it out on my phone just to see if it's something I'm going to like. And if it sounds like, this is one for the car, the next time I take a trip, I'm going to rip this, just crank it the hell up, and listen to it the way metal's supposed to be listened to, right? Nice and loud. So I'm amazed I still have hearing after playing in bands for all the years I did, and then still listening to it loud. But like I said, I think that's the only way. What was that? So, I mean, I just miss, I remember the old school stuff, going back to the 80s with coming home with that brand new CD or, obviously before that cassettes and before that vinyl, and opening it up and reading the lyrics and the liner notes. I mean, that was just such a cool thing. And that is definitely missed in the digital age. I know some people still do the physical stuff, but I honestly just don't do much of that anymore. But what do you think? What do you remember about that time?
I hear you, man. That was the best thing about vinyl. You got a big ass cover to check out, and like say with the internet, you can still get all that shit. You can get the lyrics, the cover, but there was just something special about having that in your hands. And I like the big fat cassette liners too, that when you unfolded them, they were like
12 panels, long. Right?
Yeah. And it was always a surprise too. You didn't know till you opened that record or that tape if you had something like that inside. It could have just been just plain white paper on the inside. You opened it up and it was something amazing. It was always bonus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was just a cool time. So, I mean, I know we're a couple of older dudes, but it was an awesome time. I'm definitely glad I grew up in the era that I grew up in. I know I'm a couple of years older than you, but we're in that same zone. And yeah, it was a cool time to be a metalhead, man, when it was first kind of blowing up, so. What did you have anything you wanted to add here, Shane?
No. That's about it.
Okay. So, Shane, talking about some new releases, I hear that in Winnipeg, I saw this on the news today that, that's where you're located. There's been some seismic activity that was said to be 666 on the Richter scale. That only adds up to that you've been cranking up some metal over there, throwing up the horns and listening to some new shit. Is that why that's the case, or is it something else?
Yeah, man, I've been going pretty hard. I got a couple new bands I've been checking out. Last Resistance. These guys are a fairly recent band, formed in 2018, 5-piece out of Germany. They just released an album titled Monument of Warfare, and it's war metal in the war metal genre, and the bolt thrower is very strong with them. Not a clone per se, but you can definitely hear the influence. And at this point, if you're doing war metal, you're almost obligated to have some influence from Bolt Thrower, the greatest war metal band of all time, the GOAT. So this new album, Monument of Warfare, it's 40 minutes of pure, just old school death metal. They got a great sound, production is good.
Nice.
There's just a ton of heavy crushing riffs.
Wow.
It's aggressive, lots of groove. It's just, old school death metal done right.
Nice.
Vocals are a bit harsh. They kind of grow on you. It's harder to understand, but after you listen to it a couple times, your ear gets trained, and it's all good. It's bolt thrower-ish stuff. It's definitely worth checking out.
Nice. I love that cover too. That's really badass. Definitely cool.
And we got some Acrid Death here, another very recent band. Just released their first album in February. It's titled Abominable Presence of Blight. These guys are from Germany too, on Rising Nemesis Records. And so they're so new, I really couldn't find out jack shit about them. They do have a video on YouTube. And I deduced from that they're a 4-piece band, and they like to wear wife beaters. I don't know what that means, but
that's funny.
Right from the first riff, the style of death metal you're getting into here, and that would be classic old school Swedish death metal. They just have the sound just pinned down, so they got the tone of the classic Entomb, Dismember, Grave. They just got the chunky, fat-sounding grooves. There's some faster parts, slower melodic parts, ambient parts, but so it's very Swedish death metal. Lots of galloping beats, great mid-tempo sections, blast beats. But the slower parts were actually the highlights of the album for me. Vocals are nice too, good growl. Has 2 completely different ranges in there.
Nice.
Sound production is great for first release. They do sound very seasoned. Mm-hmm. They're not changing the rule book here on Swedish death metal, but they've did a very good job of it, and it sounds fresh, not stale. And being a fan of Entombed, I really enjoyed this album, so go check that one out.
Yeah, and that cover's kind of creepy, kind of different. I kind of like that there, that's for sure.
And the last one here I want to talk about, I had actually mentioned them last week, and I thought, you know what, might as well bring them up because it's a really good band. And this is Trenchwar.
Yeah, these guys are
they're
killer,
on Sleazy Rider, same as Spider Kickers, and they're a 5-piece Turkish band. They've been around for about 10 years. They have 2 releases. The new album, From Earth to the Moon, just dropped at the beginning of March, and I've been liking it quite a bit. That cover, like you say, is just killer, very cool. But what drew me to this is the vocals. And I don't know how to describe it. They're very unique. Well, what would you say it is, Pete? Like a gargle growl, maybe?
Yeah, gargle growl is a good analogy. It's different. I mean, I really liked them. They definitely stood out, and that's what drew me in, was just something a little different about them. But yeah, it's hard to explain, but yeah, kind of a gargled growling type approach, but wicked.
Not
man,
like
the whole
not
band.
like a Chewbacca gargle growl, but it's a bit more subdued than that. But
yeah,
it's very unique. So if you like Bay Area thrash, the Extament, Testament, violent stuff, this is an album to check out.
Yeah.
It's very riff-driven thrash metal. Some very good solos in it, some chugging, some groove. It has some very Sabbathy moments in it, too. The bass sounds good. It's mixed in well, definitely sticks out. The drumming has some groove to it. It's not super polished. It has a bit of a raw sound, but I think it works for them. They do a fun cover of Zeppelin's Communication Breakdown at the end. So, yeah, check it out and let me know what you think of the vocals, because they are very unique. And you, Pete, what have you been listening to in the last little bit?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I've been going off on this new Necrot. I mean, this is just crazy. And I've been terrorizing the posers within a 666-mile radius of my home. I'm just in the cornfields of the Midwest, but there have been these releases in Necrot. One release that I'm going to talk about I was expecting. The other I had no idea even existed. But the one I was expecting, Necrot, Lifeless Birth, I mean, this album cover's just got this demonic, like, winged creature giving birth to a bunch of little things with wings, and it's sick as hell.
Yeah,
and
very crazy.
It's brutal. And definitely when I put this one in, I mean, it just stomped me into the ground. 7 songs, 40 minutes of just brutal, old school death metal. I mean, these guys bring it. The first song, Cut the Cord. What a great way to start this thing off. Proving that these guys do death metal right, and they definitely stick to the old school ways. Love the song Drill the Skull, just so heavy. And I plan on playing that one next week on the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. But these guys are a 3-piece from Oakland, and they can all really play. I mean, they're just great. Not a weak song on this album, so definitely go pick it up. I bought it digitally and scored a shirt with that album art on it. So that ought to be an interesting look when I wear that to my local grocery store and places like that. But
I did not know they were a 3-piece, actually. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was surprised that they were, but yeah. So they're
I really enjoyed this album, man. This is top tier stuff right there. I could really see this hitting a lot of top 10 lists by the end of the year. And like you say, it's just fresh sounding old school death metal. Mm-hmm. And I was actually listening to it on the way home today, and some of it almost sounded like really old school Possessed Seven Churches.
That's interesting that you say that. I could hear a little bit of that now that you say it. That's what I love about these bands we talk about, because you're getting little glimpses of this or that. I think that's what makes a band stand out, is when they do have some little bit of variety in there, just something different. Because, I mean, we both love the old school death metal stuff, but, the bands that stand out are the ones that do it just a little bit different, their own little nuances, bringing in like a Possessed or another kind of influence into that sound. That's killer stuff, man. And then the next one, this is one I didn't even know existed. So this one took me by surprise. Replicant. These guys are a 4-piece from New Jersey. They've been around since 2014. I was really blown away by this one. They've got this new album called Infinite Mortality. And I dig the cover art. It's definitely different than the typical death metal album. I was kind of curious what Encyclopedia Metallum categorized them as, because I really like using that website. They say they're technical death metal and avant-garde death metal, and I would totally agree with that. That is a very good way to describe it. These guys are really unique, very different kind of style of writing songs. 9 songs on this one, 44 minutes long. They mix it up. The vocals are not guttural. I would kind of say it's somewhere between thrash, hardcore, and definitely death metal, but not guttural death metal. So a weird blend. The guy is really different. it took me a little bit to get used to the vocals, but once I got used to them, really, really like these guys. The bass player is the vocalist. So they got 2 guitars and a drummer. Just really wicked. Very, very creative. So give it a chance. Give it a listen. I love the whole thing, but the song Necro Tunnel was the one I played this last week on the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. So I really like these guys. I don't know. Did you check that out?
It's a very interesting album, man. And I'm not into the real hardcore tech death, but I do like shades of tech death. And this one has some really good moments. And like you say, a lot of it is just very unique. It's something that you've never heard before, a certain sound or something. And a lot of it really stands out. And so I enjoyed that. And it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's very creative. I had to actually listen to it a couple times because there's a lot going on here.
There is.
So I had to listen to it a couple times to appreciate it. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, what about some releases coming up, Shane? Anything that you're excited about coming down the pike here?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm excited about this one, but I am really interested to hear what the new Accept album will be like, because I haven't heard Accept since Balls to the Walls, and I know they've released stuff since then.
Dude,
but
there's some
that's
good
the last time I really listened to them. So,
oh boy, yeah. But you've been talking to my son. You need to talk to him about this because he's really into them. I didn't like the last one, but I really do like that singer. Mark, I can't remember his name. He's American, but he does it, I think, fits the band well. I like what he does. I mean, I love Udo. I've seen him twice with Udo. They opened up for Iron Maiden on Power Slave. I saw him with Udo. It was badass. And then I saw him the night after that. They headlined a smaller venue on an off night from the tour. And I went and seen him, and that's where I saw Helix. Helix actually opened for him.
No way.
Yeah, and it was so funny because everybody was screaming for Accept while Helix was playing, and the singer was getting pissed.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, and then they did the Gimme an R shit, and we were all doing the F, U, C, K, and everybody was screaming, fuck you, and the guy got like really mad. And then Accept played for like 2.5 hours. It was insane. And it was killer. And Udo was just the shit, you know. So it was really cool to get to see him twice with Udo. But nonetheless, I would love to hear it. I hope it's good. I do like some of the stuff they've done with him. I just didn't like the last one. But dude, the couple 3 before that, go check that shit out.
Okay.
Stalingrad. That album, I think that's what it's called. That one is badass, about the Battle of Stalingrad. Yeah, it's a cool like story album. It's really good.
So I think that's next Friday,
cool.
Something like that. Yeah, next Friday. And on that same day, new Deicide is coming out.
Oh, brutal.
So that'll be a busy Friday.
Yeah, right?
Then on May 17th, we got Gate Creeper and Kerry King both coming out on that Friday. So that'll be a busy day too.
Yeah, Gate Creeper. I really dig those guys for sure. And the Kerry King, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to hear what your take is on this dude, but like, I think it's cool that he's going on. He's just kind of an ass, so it's kind of hard for me to kind of put that aside, but I really do like the first single they did. I was blown away at the vocals. Like, it sounded like Tom Araya.
It does. It sounds very Slayery.
Yeah, and that guy is a fantastic singer. Mark Esegueda from Death Angel. I mean, he's fantastic. But I really didn't know what it would sound like I didn't even know he was in the band, I think, till the first single came out, because they kept it all hush-hush. But, man, he was bringing it. But then the second song, I haven't heard it yet, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it and say they don't like it. So I'm like, so I don't know. Have you heard
I haven't heard the second song either, but if he's an asshole or not, you know, I try to separate the art from the artist.
Right, I know.
I don't know.
I try to too. And to my opinion, the dude wrote Rain and Blood. So he's pretty much got a pass. I mean, like
he's got a pass.
I don't know what else you could say about that. I mean, Jesus, that's we did the dissecting the classic on that one. That's such an iconic album for thrash and even the death metal stuff. Even though they're not death metal, it was very influential on metal as a whole. Getting into some super dark subjects, with Angel of Death and some of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm hopeful. The Kerry King is good. Got a great lineup. So, it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely interested to check it out.
Yeah, that'll be a busy day.
Yeah. And so we got some tours, news stuff here. We wanted to talk about some interesting things going on in metal and some cool stuff to discuss. Shane, you got some things you want to share with us? I got a couple things
I've been checking out this week. And did you see on eBay we have Chuck Schuldiner's guitar here, and I'm going to guess everybody here knows who that is. From Chuck Schuldiner, the guitarist from Death, died in 2001 from a brain tumor, but he's an icon in death metal. One of the death metal gods, and this is his green custom BC Rich Stealth. Now that price there, $20,000, it's actually gone up quite a bit. I'm looking at my watch here, and I think the auction just closed maybe half hour ago or so. So it has closed already. Wow. And last I saw, it was at $31,000, man.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So it's going to be interesting to log into this later and see what this went for. But $31,000. And
you said it's for crazy. You said it's for a charity. Is that what you said, or no?
No, it's his nephew is actually selling it. He doesn't want to sell it. They didn't say why, but he's some kind of hardships or something. Maybe bad financial times. Lord only knows. But
right. Interesting. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, it's all on the up and up, anyways. And a piece of metal history right there. Whoever gets that, eh?
Yeah, I'm sure those 2 or 3 letters I had from him that got thrown away, those wouldn't be worth this kind of jack, but probably be worth something, though. Yeah, I can't believe my late wife threw those away. So, yeah, that was it was definitely a frustrating moment there, because nobody will believe me that I had letters from Chuck Schuldiner back when he was Evil Chuck. It was pretty funny, so... Yeah, he ordered a demo for the band I was playing in. That's how we started corresponding through like the metal zines. And he said he was going to start a band called Death. And I was like, that's kind of dumb. Like, I thought to myself, that's kind of dumb. Like, that's just such a generic name. Like, it just sounded...
You wouldn't call your rock band rock.
Yeah, I was just like, that's kind of dumb. But, cool, Evil Chuck, And then, like, years later, heard about the band Death, and I'm just like, it was just such a generic, I didn't even connect it until I saw a picture of him in Death, and I'm like, oh my God, like, that dude, that's crazy, So, yeah, that was a trip. That would have been like, 84, 85, so...
And then you were digging through your stuff looking for this letter from Evil Chuck.
She threw away all the old fan letters. I had them in a shoebox. She just threw the whole thing away. And that's where the letters were in there. So, yeah. Back when people wrote letters. So,
So you recognize these two guys here, right? Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
I laughed when I saw this, man. So I had to bring it up. Everybody's 2 favorite metalheads, man. This was a Saturday Night Live skit. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in like 15 years, but I saw this and it's like, man, that's just bang on. They just did those 2 guys up just great. Did you watch the video, Pete?
No, I haven't watched the video.
Oh man, it's great, man. It just looks like them, man. And I was thinking to myself, everybody's doing these live action movies nowadays. Like Barbie, Little Mermaid, Mario Brothers, whatever. And so I kind of want to see a Beavis and Butthead movie now with these 2 guys. This is the movie I didn't know I needed to see.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely look a lot like them. It's pretty funny, just to see people throwing back, back to the day when this was a thing, man. This was definitely a thing. That's awesome.
Yep. So another article I was reading, I read an interview with Bill Steer from Carcass, and he says he's working on a new band, a side project, I guess. And he said it's going to be a cross between 70s bluesy hard rock and new wave of British heavy metal.
What?
And that just didn't sound good to me. I was picturing Led Zeppelin crossed with Def Leppard, and I was like, no, thank you.
Right.
So I don't know what to make of that, actually. I hope it's not like Carcass Country, because that really didn't do much for me. And they did say they are progressing towards a new Carcass album anyway, so that's all good, So I was thinking they would have one out this year, but he says no. Maybe next year because they're still touring and stuff, but.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I think Carcass is, these last albums, I mean, they're still bringing it, man. That was good.
Oh, hell yeah.
The last one was
That's killer. Some of their best work, man.
Yeah, definitely killer. And then what was this other one about Glenn Benton you were talking about?
Glenn Benton, yes. Read a interview with him, and he's talking about his AI cover.
Yeah.
And it was great. I just loved it. He's like, fuck all y'all, get with the times. These are tools available to people now. And he made the point of saying, and I agree with this, he says, everybody says, now what about the artists? And a lot of these people at the same breath back in the day, they were stealing stuff from Napster and LimeWire, and they didn't give a shit about the artists then. So
right.
I liked what he had to say. He was very metal about it, so it was very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I from the beginning was against that whole Napster thing. I thought that was wrong. Obviously as a musician, but still, I never did it. And my son used to be on there, LimeWire and all that crap, and I just never. I'm like, I don't want to even hear it, because I'm going to get it the way I'm supposed to get it. I just didn't like it. And so it does, that always bothered me, because of course, if you say that, people are like, oh, F you, and oh, the corporations, this, it's like, dude, like these are musicians, like how else are they going to get paid? I mean, I know how much work it takes to write, record, practice, all that stuff. I mean, wow. I mean, that's an investment of time. And so when you're not getting paid for that, that's tough to shoulder,
I was about 50-50, I would take a bit, but then I would give a bit. I'd take a bit, and I would give a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their, their thing with that. And I know that normally when I've said anything negative about it, it's like I said, I get kind of vilified in a way. So it's like, okay, I just keep it to myself,
But Glenn, he was right on, man. I just loved his attitude about it. It was very metal.
Cool. That's cool as hell. Well, hey, if you guys like true crime and heavy metal, you could check us out on the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. We also have a channel, and I'll link to that down below. If you like the episode, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video, drop a comment below. The big thing is to let all your metalhead friends know about it, because this is a brand new channel and we need it to grow to survive. So we appreciate that. Let us know what you've been listening to, or if you've checked out anything we liked and think it sucks or you think it's awesome, let us know. And we've given you guys plenty of metal to go check out. Let us know what you think about it. I'll link to the Bandcamp pages down below for the bands that we've talked about. So you go check them out, score some merch, help them to keep going and keep the music coming. We got to support that underground. I try to do it as much as I can. So Shane, I think our job here is done tonight. So what the heck do we need to do?
Let's throw the horns, man.